All right, welcome back. We have another version of the Seth and Gentry show, or the Gentry and Seth show.
I think it's Gentry and Seth show this week.
Is it?
Or at least it will be on Dogs 24/7.
Oh, it will. Fair enough. And on the Macon Telegraph and Columbus Ledger Inquirer and all the other syllables involved with my jobs. It'll be the Gentry and Seth show too, because I'm just that kind of guy. All right, Gentry, Vanderbilt. Georgia wins this game 48-3. Go ahead and nitpick. Find something that Georgia did not do right. Because you're negative.
A little negative. They were outstanding on both sides of the ball,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think that you can nitpick on special teams. You can say that the extra points were an adventure a couple of times. You can point to Malcolm Mitchell fielding a punt inside his own 5. He's had some issues before.
He came through. I mean, I didn't even think he really. I didn't think you could do it.
Well, and defensively, you still let a receiver go over 100 yards on you.
Yeah.
And Jordan Matthews is a good receiver, but they're going to be facing several good receivers this week.
They were 3 points away from getting a shutout, but they were also another touchdown away near the end there. If that Jordan Rodgers one, from it being 10 points. What I'm saying is it wasn't quite the lights out, shut down kind of game yet.
No, not quite. And I think that as good as the defense did play at times in this, I think it was the defense's most complete performance. The game was never in doubt. Georgia wasn't going to lose this game. Yeah. But Vanderbilt did do some things, and they got Matthews in man coverage and were able to go over the top a little bit with him, and that's a little scary when you look at the team they're about to play this week.
But just in a general sense now, Georgia arrives at this magical kind of fourth game benchmark that a lot of people said before the year, as if you can get to there at 4-0, you get everyone back and you're in good shape to do potentially some pretty special things. I mean, are you surprised that we're sitting here talking about a 4-0 team at this point?
No. I mean, I'm not. I think
you had them beating Missouri. I did too, but that was
You could say that it wasn't flawless in the first 4 games, but I do think they're coming off that stretch after their best performance.
I think it's important not to lose sight of that. I wrote about that in today's paper, that people before the season were assuming that once they got through the suspensions, they might be 3-1. It could even be worse. I kept looking at the schedule and saying they're going to be favored in 3 of those 4. The Missouri one is the toss-up. Once they got past that Missouri one, that was the key one. But you're still talking about a team that has not played its best game, probably because 2 of its best players on defense have not been back.
And not just that, but the continuity of guys coming in and out. You didn't have Cummings and Bassett for 2 games. They both played a lot since they've been back.
And you've got an O-line that we said this also in the preseason, that the O-line was the biggest concern on the offense, possibly the entire team. Mm-hmm. And what you expected was, like last year, once they figured things out and got some cohesion, they were going to be better as the season went on. The O-line has... You got to credit Will Friend. They've been pretty good, especially run blocking's been really good.
I think they've overachieved from what was expected.
Yeah.
What I think about the O-line is you watch them play. There's not a lot of missed assignments. They know what they're doing. They don't overpower people. They don't maybe hold blocks as well as you would like in some instances. What they're doing is they're where they're supposed to be, and that is creating enough space. And Rick made this comment yesterday on his conference call with us. They do enough to create enough space where a guy like Gurley or Keith Marshall has a chance to do something with that.
Do you think that also Bobo changing around the offense a lot in terms of more spread, more shotguns, and even some pistol stuff like that has also helped the O-line? They've kind of game planned around potential O-line issues.
What I like about that is there isn't as much of the delayed, shotgun draw kind of stuff where it's almost you're trying to use a defensive speed against them. What they're doing now is they're running downhill. They're putting those guys in the pistol, or they're pitching it to them where they have a head of steam before they have the ball.
Yeah.
They're taking off with a running start. And I think that's been a huge deal for Gurley. He is tough coming through the middle.
Here was
of that line.
an interesting question you and I were talking about in the media room a second ago, and we said we would save for the video. So here it is. I think it was a Tennessee fan had asked on one of the 24/7 websites, or whether Aaron Murray or the running game was the bigger worry, and I think we both agreed that, in terms of worry for Tennessee, I think we both agreed that the bigger worry is Aaron Murray. That the tailbacks have gotten a ton of attention so far, very deserved. But the bottom line is Aaron Murray, even though he doesn't have that big signature win against a top 10 opponent that a lot of people are still waiting for, Aaron Murray's experienced, unlike these tailbacks, and his receivers are experienced and tested, and he really looks like they want Malcolm Mitchell back on offense as soon as they can, but it doesn't look like they really miss Malcolm at this point.
Well, and obviously the run game's helped
Yeah.
the last 2 weeks. There's no question about
I think
that.
they're using the pass to set up the run.
I agree, and I think also that at the end of the day, when they play the better teams on their schedule and it's coming up quickly, the guy who's going to win you or lose you the game is Aaron Murray. And if you're Georgia, you have to feel pretty good about that. I mean, he's been a little shaky in some big games through his career, but you're talking about a kid who's thrown for more than 3,000 yards 2 years in a row without much of a run game. Now you can give him
his preseason goal is to be
line.
accurate, and he has been.
And if you're able to run the ball and then the play action pass gets work, I mean, it is a handful to deal with this offense when all the guns are firing like they were on Saturday. I don't think that's going to happen against every team they play, but I think that they're in much better shape now than they were each of the last 2 years of Murray's career.
Now let's talk about Tennessee. What do you think the chances are it happens against a Tennessee team that defense is not their strong suit?
I think Georgia will have some success. I think that the big concern in that game, in a way, is a little bit similar to what Missouri brought to the table in that game. Tennessee has very, very good wide receivers, and they are the kind of team that are going to test Georgia's secondary. They're going to throw the ball a lot with a real strong arm kid in Tyler Bray, and I think
That's why you won't see Malcolm Mitchell back at receiver full time.
not for this
Not
game,
yet.
no.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that the question there is going to be, can Georgia stop the big play? Because they've given up too many big plays. They've given up way too many in the past game, and this game's going to test that.
It'll be
This
a
is what
case
this comes
of,
down to.
and I think we saw this a little bit in the Florida-Tennessee game, and from talking to some people in Tennessee, the mental makeup, mindset of this Tennessee team is still kind of fragile. That the longer Tennessee stays in the game, and if you allow them some big plays that boost some confidence and momentum, the more dangerous it becomes for Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be similar to the game here 2 years ago when Georgia jumped on late. If that happens again, I think it could get away from Tennessee.
Right.
But if not, and the game stays close, Georgia makes some mistakes, turns the ball over, gives Tennessee a shot offensively to score some points and stay in the game, then sure. And I think that this game, to me, it's a classic trap game. Georgia puts Georgia puts so much emotionally into Vanderbilt. They've got South Carolina the next week. That this is a perfect example of a game that they could very easily not be as sharp as they
That's a
need.
great point. So much was into the Vanderbilt game, whether people admit it or not, especially on defense. And people are, I don't know if players are, I'm sure coaches aren't, but fans are looking ahead to South Carolina because that showdown is looming. Again, it gets back to Georgia kind of has to have that week-to-week mindset, that business-like attitude that you sensed from them in the preseason, but it was kind of easy to have that because you could even look a little ahead to Missouri when you were playing Buffalo. Once you were done with Missouri, Florida Atlantic, Vanderbilt. This one, Tennessee's still got enough talent that if you're
Absolutely.
if you're looking ahead to the Gamecocks and starting to wonder how you're going to start Marcus Lattimore before you figure out how you're going to stop Tyler Bray, then it becomes. But we think if you line them up, X's and O's and pound for pound, athlete for athlete, Georgia's still, I don't know, I would say a lot better than Tennessee, but they're better.
Yeah, and the game's here.
Yeah,
that's a big deal too. But would
3:30.
Would you ever think we would be sitting here talking about Vanderbilt and South Carolina, and between you take Tennessee lightly?
Yeah, that's just kind of where Tennessee is at this point. And who knows how long it'll take them to get back to the state we're used to. Who knows if we'll ever have a year where a game against Vanderbilt was that anticipated as it was this year.
It's a strange set of it. Tennessee, I think, is the kind of team, and I've watched a little of their game against Florida enough to think that they will hang with Georgia for a while. I think they absolutely have enough in their starting 22 to make a game of this for a while. What hurt them against Florida is they faded pretty badly down the stretch, and I think they've done that a few times the last couple of years. So I think Georgia could outlast them, but I'm here to tell you, I really think this is going to be a lot tougher game than what people think it is.
I think if Georgia plays largely mistake-free, they should win this game comfortably. But I will say that the spread, I guess, for this game, the betting line is about 14
or 15.
Yeah,
that's
about
pretty high.
That's about what it was for the Vanderbilt game. The Vanderbilt game, I felt very confident Georgia would beat the spread. This one, a little dicier. I think Georgia will win, but yeah, I agree with you. There's some things in here that make you think it could be a lot closer than anticipated.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts, Gentry?
No.
Just,
the end of September is starting to get cool outside. Thank goodness for that.
Well, let's go enjoy that. Thanks, and see y'all next week.